Once upon a time, Austin, Texas was just a cool, hip, laid-back college town. And now it's not. In this video, we're going to talk about the ways in which it has changed. Stay tuned. Hey again, everybody. This is Frank with the Living in Austin group at eXp Realty. Every week we put out new content about living in Austin, Texas, the good and the bad. So remember to subscribe if you haven't already and ring that little bell to get notified anytime we put out a new video. We also love the reach outs we get now all the time from people just like you in need of our help when relocating to the greater Austin area. So keep them coming. Don't hesitate. Whether you're 9 days away or 90, reach out to our team. Whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day. So yes, in this video we are talking about the ways in which Austin, Texas has changed, in some cases for the better, and a lot of cases for the worse. And as mentioned, once upon a time, Austin, Texas was just that cool, laid-back, hip college town of Texas. It was kind of the younger, more artistic or eclectic brother to cities like Houston, Texas, or Dallas, Texas, or San Antonio, Texas. And now what we're finding is no more small town Austin. And what I mean by that is not literally its size, right? Because it's the same size it was all those years ago. However, the small town feel is absolutely being eradicated. And we've heard this a lot in our comments in our previous videos over time doing this channel. Of course, being a resident here most of my life, I have also observed that to be the case. And that's something that used to make Austin, Texas very attractive and kind of set it apart from not just certain cities in Texas, but certain cities in the country. It was very cool. It was very authentic. And that's the thing. Back in the day, Austin, Texas was never trying to be Houston. It was never trying to be Dallas, or in a more extreme case, it was never trying to mimic California, such as Los Angeles or San Francisco. It was just what it was, and that made it very attractive to so many people. And now what we're finding is with all these companies flocking here from Silicon Valley, really building upon what has been called Silicon Hills here in Austin, with Google, Amazon, Facebook, Tesla, Dell, all these companies, so many more I can mention, that are basically planting their roots here and building factories here and really setting up shop in Austin, Texas. The feel has gone from less of an authentic small town, college town, kind of artistic city to now this commercialized corporate place full of people who are not originally from here, which can be a great thing regarding diversity and a big melting pot of cultures, but at the same time it's sacrificing the original historic, more authentic culture that Austin once had. And so for many people that does make Austin attractive, because in some cases it's becoming less and less Texan, and people who are not from Texas who are moving here might be attracted to that. They don't want something too Texan. However, for people who were born and raised here, for example, to see the city they once knew and loved and held so closely dramatically changing into something that resembles, dare I say, San Francisco or Los Angeles, not to an extreme extent, but that is cause for concern for a lot of people. And that is absolutely a reason why the city has changed. Moving right along, another way in which Austin, Texas has changed, and in this case a bit for the better, would be suburban development. And I feel like this doesn't really get talked about a lot because when we're talking about Austin, Texas, we're talking about the city of Austin. We're not really talking about the greater Austin area. But in my opinion, that absolutely matters because not everyone is going to live within the city limits of Austin, Texas. Plenty of people, especially those with families, which a majority of our clients have been, would prefer not to live there. And once upon a time, when Austin, Texas was just that old small college town, the outskirts, there really wasn't much going on. Now, obviously, we have Round Rock, Texas, which is kind of its own hub, and so that has been developed for quite a while. Pflugerville has been around for quite a while. But for the longest time, when we're talking about places like Leander, Texas, or Cedar Park, Texas, or Liberty Hill, Texas, or Buda, Texas, or Kyle, Texas, or Hutto, Texas, or Bastrop, Texas, just 10 to 20 years ago, these places were really these tiny country towns. I wouldn't even call them cities. I wouldn't even call them full-blown suburbs yet. They were really just like one gas station type place, one local convenience store, grocery store type of place. And I remember just in my own lifetime, things being like that. I remember before Leander became such a hotspot that I thought of Leander as kind of an afterthought. It was kind of just this country town with really not much going on besides great schools, but those great schools attracted a lot of people. And so here we are, right? And it's funny because just the other day I had an old friend of mine visiting me in town, and he and I grew up, a lot of our childhood was the early 2000s in Austin, Texas, and we both grew up near the Cedar Park, Round Rock areas. And he was coming through, he now lives in San Antonio, Texas, and we were driving through these old familiar areas, and he was not even recognizing it, not just because time has passed, but because there was so much development, even just in the past 5 years, where places that were only land and just farm and ranch Texan scenery are now filled with stores, parking lots, apartment complexes. And so this is a good thing if you are wanting to come to the greater Austin area and you don't want the city limits, especially with the price tag. However, it is making the greater Austin area certainly so much different than it used to be, for better and worse. Keeping it moving, up next, we have the biggest change, of course, that we're all waiting to hear about, and that would be the cost of living in Austin, Texas. So for the longest time, of course, and even still, the state of Texas has been a place where people like to relocate for that bang for your buck, combined with the lack of state income tax. It makes a lot of sense, and so people from not just California, but Florida, New York, Oregon, Washington State, Canada, will come to Texas and start anew, start fresh, buy big, take whatever their budget was where they're coming from, and restart here in the great state of Texas. And Austin, for a while, was no different. It was part of that. Well, no secret now, Austin, Texas is above and beyond the most expensive city to live in the state of Texas. The median home price within the city limits is currently over $600,000. Homes that even 5 years ago might have gone for $300,000 or $400,000 on the market now go for $500,000, $600,000, or sometimes $700,000 on the market. So obviously for many years, we're going to see appreciation. The house that I grew up in, I think, was purchased for maybe $170,000, and then it recently sold for the 600s, well over asking price, seller's market, demand, all that crap. So that's an extreme example, but I've got to say, not just your home prices, not just talking real estate, but with all the companies here, with all the high-paying jobs that are here, with the changing culture, with the accelerated politics, with all kinds of things that make Austin, Texas for better and worse, your milk is more expensive. Your gas is more expensive. Renting an apartment in a lot of ways is more expensive than buying a house now. Things are just getting so out of whack. We've got toll roads now so that you have to beat the traffic, or if you want to beat the traffic, you take the toll road. If you're commuting, that can add up. That's another expense. And so, yeah, all of a sudden, it was getting more expensive at a quick pace, but it was really just probably the past 5 to 10 years, especially, where it has just gone up in pretty much every possible regard. Another way in which Austin, Texas has changed, and once again, this one too, for the worse, is going to be the subject of safety. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're in Austin, Texas, you're not going to be sleeping with one eye open. You're not going to be watching your back everywhere you go. It's not that bad, okay? So let's make that clear. But more recently, especially probably in just the last 1 to 3 years, statistics for crime have dramatically increased, because you could argue any city is going to have a fluctuating statistic of crime and safety. Things go up, things go down, or maybe as a country, things just go up a little bit. But in the case of Austin, Texas, in some cases it has skyrocketed. So burglaries went way up recently. Aggravated assaults went way up recently. Murders went way up recently. We've even had shootings, like on 6th Street in downtown Austin, Texas. So things like that are happening more frequently, and that's just the reality of it, So I say this to you because you might not be living in downtown Austin, Texas, but if you are either going to be commuting for a job there, let's say you work corporate, or let's say you have a very active social life and you like to congregate with your friends or go to shows or go to art exhibits or museums or music venues, whatever it may be, if you're going to be spending time in Austin, Texas, just be aware. That's the thing. I'm not really trying to dissuade you or discourage you, but we keep it brutally honest on this channel, and if I see something about Austin, I'm going to say it. And so, yeah, the crime has gone up at an accelerated pace. It's just something to keep in mind, not something to live in fear about, but it is a talking point among local Austinites. And a lot of people will say, well, San Antonio's worse or Houston's worse. Okay, it might be true, but Austin's also getting bad. In addition to that, somewhat related, we do have a lot more tents here. We do have a lot more homelessness here, which is going to be the case in pretty much any city, but it is also happening at an alarming pace within Austin, Texas. Now, real quickly before moving on, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. If we've been providing any value for you, consider liking the video as it helps our channel grow. Remember to subscribe, and lastly, share our content with anybody you know who's wanting to learn more about living in Austin, Texas. Now, lastly, I'd be remiss if I did not mention the traffic, okay? And yes, I know if you've been a long-time subscriber, this is something we've talked about quite a bit on this channel, so pardon me for doing it another time, but if you are a new subscriber and you're thinking of moving to Austin, Texas, consider this your heads up. I will acknowledge, pretty much in every corner of every city of the country, we have traffic, we have rush hour. But in regards to Austin changing, in the context of this video, I would argue this is even more absurd than the affordability. Not to say it's more serious, because obviously the subject of money is going to be worse than the subject of traffic, but regarding how annoying it has been, regarding what a problem it is becoming and what a headache it will be for you if you are someone who does a fair amount of driving in the greater Austin area, yeah, the traffic here is getting so bad, and that is simply because for the longest time, Austin, Texas has been consistently a top hotspot for relocation in the entire country. People are flocking here all the time. And that's okay for a city like Houston, Texas, like Dallas, Texas, or even San Antonio, Texas. Sure, they also have bad traffic, but their cities were not just once upon a time old, chill, laid-back college towns. For the longest time, Houston, Texas, for example, has had the infrastructure to keep up with an influx in the population. So yeah, they might have their bad traffic too, but at least they can kind of, they're able to handle it in terms of the size of Houston, which is massive. Austin, Texas, though it's lost its small town feeling, if we're talking about its literal size, is still a small town, but its population is just growing at such an alarming pace that the city's trying to keep up with the increasing population, and when they do that, they try to do construction to fix the traffic, but then the construction makes the traffic worse, and because the traffic gets worse, they feel the need to do more construction. And oh, by the way, a certain construction project that they're starting to do could take like 84 years to complete. So it's not like, oh yeah, 3 months of construction, okay, it's over and done with. No, it is like a way of life now. And rush hour, in large part due to the population and the construction. I remember in my lifetime, rush hour here in Austin, Texas started around maybe 5 or 6, pretty normal. Nowadays, it starts probably at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Just so many people here, so keep that in mind as well. I don't mean to be Captain Obvious and talk about a traffic problem that a lot of cities have, but in the case of Austin getting worse and what is really changing here, the traffic, if you've seen what it was before, it is night and day. So there you have it. There's a lot of other things we could have talked about, such as the property taxes, but those have always kind of just been around and been that way. We could talk about the heat, but it's always been hot in the South. Or we could talk about the city's politics, but it's been that way since it was just that old small college town. And so in this video, we really try to talk about the ways in which it has changed, yes, since the 70s, yes, since the 90s, but even especially just since, 2015 or even 2018, 2019, how it's really just changing now exponentially. And so, hopefully we've helped you arrive at your own conclusion as to whether or not it is the right fit for you. But if it is, again, that is what we are here for, helping people just like you relocate to the greater Austin area, making that move as smooth as possible, finding that perfect spot, and getting those offers accepted. But again, the only way we can do that is by you reaching out to us. So don't hesitate, whether you're 9 days away or 90, reach out to our team, whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day. It is what we love to do. And again, every week we put out new content about living in Austin, Texas, the good, and in this case, the bad. So remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that little bell to get notified anytime we put out a new video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Consider liking the video if we've been providing any value for you. Share it with anybody you know, and until the next one, you guys, my name is Frank. This is Living in Austin, Texas, and we will absolutely catch you later.